Well, here we go, everybody. It is Thursday, and I have spent the past couple days digging out the church's Christmas trees and putting up the snow downstairs because we've got a vacation Bible school theme of True North, so kind of the Alaskan wilderness, and so diving in with that. So I've been running around one place to another, putting all that stuff together, which has been super fun. And whenever I walk by the sanctuary, I think I've seen 2 pianos up there right now. So we've gotten to 3 pianos now. So wonderful. So we are getting closer there with people playing their hearts out. So it is wild. A lot of activity going on around the church now. So I think they're getting ready. I know that Phil said they have just all that they can pack into before the show starts here. And so that's coming up. So they have that Rhapsody in Gershwin. And that will take place tonight at 7 o'clock. Tomorrow. Yeah, I better get that right. Tomorrow at 7 o'clock. And so there will still be room for tickets at the door, as well as if you want to join in online too. You can do that as well. But lots of activity and lots of stuff from Vacation Bible School, Rhapsody in Gershwin, and then just worship at CLC. So as you can tell, Pastor Ben, I believe he will be coming in very soon, but he is not here at this moment. He will be back tomorrow for the Rhapsody in Gershwin show. But he is still in Wisconsin. We don't have an update for you today, but I'll tell you it's probably a little bit cooler up there than it is right here, and probably a little bit greener and wetter as well. A few more bugs maybe, but it looks like it looked pretty good the last time we checked in there. But we want to jump into our song "Oh the Day." And this is one that we came to at 11 o'clock, and it's one that has power whenever we lift it up, and so it certainly has a lot of meaning, and it's a version of a very old hymn that is perhaps it's a hymn that we keep returning to year in, year out at this church, but in probably across the board in a number of different denominations. This hymn brings with it a lot of meaning, and this is one. I think it's a beautiful version, and so we're gonna turn to that right now for that song. Amen. Amen. Beautiful song. I love that one. I love that Hillsong remade that old hymn, and as I mentioned, it continues to be and has been one of the most popular Christian hymns that we lift up. It carries so much meaning along with it. That amazing grace, and particularly this version that talking about that we in these broken vessels that God is bringing us to new life, finding that, and of course that song Amazing Grace, written by John Newton. And many of you know the story of John Newton, that he was a slave trader, and he did not grow up particularly religious at all, and instead his path had a lot of twists and turns, and wound up being a part of the Royal Navy from England, and became involved in the Atlantic slave trade. 1748, and there was a violent storm that he was in that was so severe, he called out to God for mercy. And while that moment marked his spiritual conversion, he continued to slave trading for several years after that, until he left slave trading, but carried some of that weight along with him, that time he had been a slave trader. And so had this storm coming, and feeling like he's got to pray to God, and even though he did not grow up religious, and just felt like he had to turn to God in that moment, which is quite a stirring thing, and but asking for that, asking God to come in, but then still having this job where he's a slave trader, and continues on with that even after his, in his mind, that's where his conversion started. But it really, once he gave his life over to God and started to go into theology, he realized what kind of burden he'd been carrying and what he'd been putting on other people, and he became a strong abolitionist, and then began to write that poetry, and with that transformative power, and to believe in that change. And here, it's interesting to look at him and to see that change didn't happen just like that, where he said, "Oh, I've got to change. I want to give my life over to God." But then pretty soon he realized he was bringing some darkness into this world. He was bringing some destruction into this world, and he couldn't carry that around with him anymore. He needed to turn to something deeper, turn to something more, and out of that flowed this hymn, Amazing Grace, and what it means to really find that in our lives, to really find that, believe that, understand that. In our sermon series last week, we were talking about radical grace and what it means to truly believe in radical grace in our lives, when so often we take things for granted, or we just live on autopilot, and we don't appreciate those blessings, that radical grace. And John Newton too, I mean, he kind of living, oh, this is all there is in front of me, that's the only way it can be, until he really gives that grace a little bit of space, and allows it to breathe, allows it to move, and lives, and offered a hymn that people keep sharing, keep offering that, keep rewriting it, and trying to share something new about that transformative power of grace. And how do we, as God's people, take that in and take in that being able to see in a new way. And I once was blind, but now I see. Of course, that really harkens to the story of Paul, or Saul, someone who started off persecuting Christians and then was blinded by that. But in his time where he couldn't see, he'd been persecuting people, and then he's blinded. And then in this time where he is blind, he has to learn how to truly see. And nobody wants to be in that space where, I mean, in Paul's story, it was physical blindness, but in all of us, we have, metaphorically, nobody wants to go in that space of of darkness, of blindness. But when you're in that space, are you going to choose to listen? Are you going to choose to open your heart up and listen? For Paul, there was so much grace there, and it was abounding. It was transformative, and he wanted to be a part of something. And that's what he lived for. That's how he wanted to be transformed. And so, Paul will write in 2 Corinthians in chapter 11. He writes about all that has happened to him. And he says he's faced a lot of pain, darkness, tragedy. He says, 5 times, I have received 40 lashes minus 1, so 39 there, 39 lashes. I have spent a night and a day on the open sea. I've been constantly on the move. I have been danger from river, danger from bandits, danger from my fellow people, in danger from outsiders, in dangers in the city, in dangers in the country, in danger at sea, in danger from false believers. I have labored and toiled, gone without sleep. I have known hunger and thirst and often gone without food. I have been cold and naked. Besides everything else, I face the daily pressure and the concern of all the churches. Who is weak if I do not feel weak? Who is led into sin if I am not led into sin? But I can only boast in my weakness. And he talks about in that same book, saying, I look to God's grace. God's grace is sufficient for me. God's power is made perfect in weakness. And in all those things, recognizing that God is present in the grace. And what can we do to live and hold onto that kind of grace? And I love Paul's story. I love his journey, and I love his willingness to open the eyes of his heart. And he was always trying to do this for others too, trying to tell the churches to see beyond and to look together. And so there's one little story I want to look up, or want to share with you it's from the book of Acts, but it's I mentioned in that reading that Paul was shipwrecked a number of times, and there's a story of one of the times that Paul is shipwrecked in the book of Acts. And in this moment where his ship is being battered, it's being destroyed, and there's a group of people who were some of the wealthier people on the boat. Paul was a prisoner on the boat, so he wasn't thought of too highly, but there were some wealthier people on the boat, and then there were some prisoners. There were kind of all groups of people on that boat. And some of the people of wealthier means were going to take the boats down, the lifeboats, and they were going to try to escape for themselves. And Paul has this message saying, no, we've all got to work together. All of us, no matter who we are, if we all work together, we can save this boat. And it's a sign of spirituality too. You know, no matter who we are, if people of different means, no matter where we are, if we all come together, Paul says, stay on the boat together, live in this place. We can do this if we all work together. And in the story, they all work together, they stay together, and they survive. But it's a story of if they would have tried to go selfishly, if they would have tried to go off and do their own thing, it wouldn't have worked out well. And it becomes this metaphor for the church. And if we start pushing people out and saying, oh, I don't like that person, don't like this person, and let's stay to our own sides, go our own ways, go to our own places, then we're led down a path of destruction. And you'd hate to see, you don't want to see a church do that. You don't want to see a nation do that, or any group, a family do that, where we start pushing people away and saying, no, you're outside, you're the wrong side, you're outside the lines there. We're pushing you out. Grace holds everybody together. And what would it look like if we brought that kind of attitude, that kind of grace wherever we go? And so those are just a few of my thoughts for today. And I think we'll wrap up. I know Philip's here, but I believe we have some breaking news. I heard that just live from Wisconsin. I believe Pastor Ben did want to tune in, so let's see.
Hey everybody, I know it's a little loud in here, we're in the airport, but I shaved. I'm getting ready to fly. It's Thursday afternoon. It's before broadcast, obviously, but I'm hoping to be on the ground by, well, let's say 6 o'clock tonight. So I will be in the office tomorrow writing a sermon and getting ready for Philip's concert, but all is good. And I will catch you all up later. So God bless you, love you, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.
Well, how about that? So we did get an update, and we did get to see the airport out there too. I guess that's in Minneapolis. So exciting stuff right there. But we have, as mentioned, we have a busy weekend, a lot going on, and beginning tomorrow, I believe Robbie will be back for Friday. But then we have 7 o'clock here at church, the Rhapsody in Gershwin, and then on to the weekend with 5 o'clock worship on Saturday night, and then 8, 9:30, and 11 o'clock. And we're rolling on. So with that, we're going to turn it over to Philip, and I hope you all have a blessed and wonderful weekend.